Excellent. Stupid.
Yay, capitalism.
Yay. Huzzah. I love how this
Huzzah.
works. Okay, so yeah, let's since it was brought up, and I'm going to act like there was nothing that happened in between the last question and this. What exactly? How? I mean, we've gone a little bit now into how Blnk Slate is thinking of kind of approaching kind of the live scenario. How is Pardon the Rope? Are you guys thinking about doing live shows? Do you think you're going to be?
I knew this was going to be a fun one that would stick me to the wall a little. So I definitely, plan in the very near future of possibly trying to, possibly go with some of these songs, do some, little local karaoke to get some more exposure, to try and find, some local talent. I'll admit, that's the one thing that's become interesting about Pardon the Rope, since it is only, for lack of better words, two vocalists with a ghostwriter. We are in the process of finding people. I don't like to, speak on Blnk Slate's behalf right now. That's kind of part of my backup plan is, to have him kind of fill in some of the instrumentalists. But, if that doesn't work long run, I'm always, looking for instrumentalists. So I guess what I'm saying is, if anybody that's watching this interview, you've got some talent, don't be afraid to reach out to us. We're always, looking for the next big guy that could fill those shoes. So, but it's one of those where I'm of the mindset, if we get picked up, we're more of a concept band. We're a concept idea. We have a lot of ideas, and we need a little bit of the industry to grab us and give us some of what we need, which is instrumentalists. It happens. It's not the greatest of plans, but it's my plan for now.
Do you think necessarily now that we're in 2020, there is even a need still for you to be a live band? I mean, I know that bands like to perform live because obviously you get to feed off the crowd, you get to see people's reaction in real time. But there's also now, especially since the pandemic, many bands that I've spoken to are like, well, I don't know if we feel like, doing like tour things, going through that, having vans break down. It's easier for us to kind of just be like basically get a collection of people, do like a show that we live stream, or just release songs and not have to worry about the live aspect.
See, and that's kind of where we're at right now. Like a great band that, and I know they're probably going to do live shows eventually, but a great band to compare us to would be like, Darko US right now. It has Tom Barber or Chelsea Grin, but he just does all these collabs with, like the Baby J from Immure and a couple other guys. And I really love this Darko project he has, but I don't see him doing any live of it. And that's kind of what we're doing, that we'd rather expend our current money on, just at least cranking the music out there. And if long run we can get instrumentalists to make a live happen, that'd be cool. And, I'm still the voice of Pardon the Rope. But if that never happens, we're okay with staying independent and just cranking out music. I'm not saying that our dotted line is going to be a crazy thing or what the figure would be or any of that jazz if somebody was to pick us up, but we definitely we're older guys. We're not stupid. We've been around the block. We know what to expect. We know what not to sign. So that's kind of where we're at with it, that it's like, hey, we're more about the music and making sure people hear what we have to fucking say, and that's really what it's about.
I'm interested too, since you are saying that you've been around, and you guys are in relatively newer projects as far as releasing things to people. I always like to kind of do a check-in with people, because there's always like, even like 10 years ago, there was, man, we got to get to a label, got to get signed. That's like the pinnacle of what we got going here. But here in 2022, it feels like labels have really lost a lot of that cachet that people need for it. Is that something that you guys looking for, necessarily a label or like a PR firm to do stuff for you? Like what's kind of the idea there?
I'll speak fast on us, and then I'll let Blnk Slate, because I know he's jumping at the bit for this one too, I'm sure. But what I'd say is we're not afraid of an independent label, like a smaller one. But I'm going to say this much. I've talked to enough guys. I've gotten past some of the gatekeeping, and that's where, for even Duncan and Blnk Slate, I do come in handy a bit, because I do have a bit more connections right now in the field with just, how hard I've pounded the pavement over the past few years. And a lot of these guys have given me a very ugly interview it, some of these, contracts that are thrown at them. And yeah, some of these guys get some great stuff, but other guys just get the total bad end of it to a point that they're actually losing money. And that's where, me and Rooster have definitely talked it over and said, hey, if we're not afraid of a label, and if they're going to give us, we're not asking for the golden goose, but if they're going to give us what, is respectable, we're not afraid of that at all. But in the meantime, I'm also have zero fear in 2022 of remaining an independent artist, because as you've said, it's become such a thing. So that's where at least part of the rope is on that subject. Go ahead.
So with Blnk Slate, I'm going to be honest, probably not. More than likely not. Reason being, I've been delving into the business side of this whole thing when I'm going to school and stuff like that. I've learned how to kind of read these things. A lot of the times labels are going to push you to do something a little too fast and take a little bit more money than you'd like. That's just how they go. So ultimately, when it becomes, it's being an independent artist, I've been kind of getting into the whole side of like PROs, stuff like that, and just learning what those are and just learning how each of those makes money off of, streams, copyrights, etc. And with what I'm learning, I could probably honestly just run it solo, because I know a lot of that's the hardest part about the music business is learning the business end of it, because you want to do music, you don't want to do business.
Yeah, nobody wants to do the hard work.
Paperwork sucks. But yeah, so I have no fear of being an completely independent, and I don't think my other members really do either. It's more of if we get that magic record label, okay, great, but that's a hope. We're gonna roll with the worst, which is probably no record label, which is fine.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm hoping the fairy godmother comes, but if it don't happen, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've talked to so many bands, and like there still is this sort of mentality of, yeah, we'll do it on our own until the label comes and like basically saves us from the obscurity that we're living in. And it's like, I don't have the heart to tell them like, you guys, that's probably not the way
you're gonna get pimped out.
Yeah, so like it's interesting to hear you guys talk, because there's so many that don't really have that concept of how the industry works, and it sounds like the two of you, you guys seem to have an idea of how it's operating. So it's
both Duncan and I have worked with some pretty big players already. I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to get nobody in trouble, but we've worked with enough people to know that there's some sinister stuff at work.
Yes. I mean, mildly put, but yes, that is.
Yeah, right.
That's a very eloquent way of saying it.
Let me, well, since we're talking about the industry, let me ask you about another hot button issue that I'm finding bands are split on. What's your feelings on Spotify?
Oh man, yeah, that's a tough one. I'm gonna say I've always been a man of disseminate the music, but I am also a man of saying at this point I realize how bad the capitalism side of Spotify is and how little the artist is making monetarily versus the streaming revenue that Spotify's pulling in is insane. So that's where I have a problem with it. There's such a disparity. If they'd fix that disparity, I'd be all game for it. But right now, at the current status, I have my stuff on Spotify because it's what you need to do. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have it there. I'll be real.
Personally, when it comes to a lot of Blnk Slate stuff, I'm going to try my best to steer away from it just because of what he said. You get so when it comes to making any revenue off of streams anyway, you're getting fractions of cents.
Yeah.
And what Spotify will do, you're getting a fraction of a fraction of a fraction.
And
so you're really making basically nothing. And so unless you get some crazy good Joe Rogan Spotify deal, there's no point when it comes to money reason. And so I'm going to try to do my best to try to steer clear of that. However, I'll see how that plays out, but that's what I want to try to do. And hopefully that works towards my favor, or use Spotify sparingly as hey, we'll put one hit of our song on Spotify, but you got to go search for the rest, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what are you thinking as kind of the alternative? Is it Bandcamp? Is it Tidal? Like, what's kind of the alternative solution for you?
So there's several platforms, there's like Apple Music, there's
Mhm.
YouTube Music, stuff like that. There's a lot of streaming services out now that I haven't done all the research into, but just when it comes to that sort of thing, just look way better because YouTube Music is just YouTube, which, as
Yeah.
we know, YouTube is actually pretty decent when it
Yeah,
comes
I'll
to that.
admit, YouTube actually, I'm not going to knock them too hard. They have a little bit better stream revenue. And at the end of the day, we're looking at it from a perspective. We're not necessarily trying to make the big bucks right now. We know we're not going to make that. It's more so we understand that you got to create that following, that band, and from there the merch and all that kind of stuff follows. For me, Pardon the Rope and Mr. Unlucky is just so much more than just the music. For me, it's going to be a whole kind of scenario. That's what I look at it from.
So I've been following this kind of. I kind of understand two of the aspects of this, that there is a Pardon the Rope and a Blank Slate. I understand this, but there's also seems to be a Mr. Unlucky and a Pardon the Rope. Is there three entities that we're working with here,
Technically,
or
there really is, because Mr. Unlucky, truly started before Rooster existed. And I'll admit, being that Rooster and I are differing individuals, there are some times where, our ideas don't always stack side to side. So Mr. Unlucky gives me the freedom to still, work as a side vocalist, be picked up on those projects. And Pardon the Rope, more or less, is, I don't like to say, as I said, a concept band, but it really is a entity to serve for Rooster's, messed up ideals, what really is coming out of his brain, and primarily his brain alone. And Pardon the Rope long run will probably evolve into both of our, for lack of better words, mental illness / manic sides. That's where we, write into the music a lot of times to deal with that. And that's where I could see, dealing with my own struggles with mental illness alone, I could see that going into that and dealing with that. So it just gives me a lot of freedom to, do what I got to do and kind of still maintain my own identity. But I still, as I said, Rooster's like a blood brother to me. So he's like, he's the plus one.
Okay, all right. Interesting. I don't think I've ever come across kind of a setup that
Well, it's
what's
kind
going
of
on.
like a great, person, and, not to be cliche, but it's kind of like Marilyn Manson and the Spooky Kids back in the day, or another great case, like kind of how Corey goes off and does his own, like that CMFT stuff that nobody likes.
Oh boy, I shouldn't do that. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
boy, we know what that's all about. Maybe I should take some lessons from that, but for
Lessons on
now,
what not to
that
do.
seems to be what I'm doing. So,
All right. Well, let me change gears a bit here and ask probably what is the most important question I'll ask during this entire night. I mean, and this will be interesting because we have a vocalist, we have a main songwriter, we have someone who mixes and produces things. So I'm interested to see what kind of answers we'll get out of this. What's the worst musical instrument?
Ooh.
oh shit. In my opinion, I'm gonna say, and don't hate me on this, I'm gonna say guitar, and it's just because for me, I've tried to pick it up 1,000 times.
I'm kidding.
And just no matter how many times I've tried to pick it up, it's like, forget it. Now, bass, I can groove along on a bass. Drums, I can even, kind of groove along with, but there is no groove along on the guitar. You can either fucking play or you cannot.
Ooh, worst instrument. Yeah, you know what? That's recorder. I hate the recorder. Why does it sound like that? Who invented it and why? For God's sake. I hate how they sound.
There is so much hate for the recorder, and I cannot understand, I also remember getting a recorder and having to play it. Maybe that's what it is. We were all forced to play this recorder, and that's where we're all sitting with it now.
Maybe I
deep-seated resentment.
Like the sound, like that crappy plastic. It just sounds like plastic. It just,
Kazoo. if we're talking about like shit we genuinely hate, frickin' kazoo, man, I cannot stand that thing.
I mean, I don't know. I like the kazoo only because I am a weirdo that likes weird things in my music. So like if I hear like if Dillinger Escape Plan put a kazoo on a song, which I'm willing into the world right now, even though I know they're broken up, because that would mean there'd be another album coming out. Like I would feel good.
Probably
about
is when you just got to find it.
it. Really, if I dig hard enough, it's on that
Wasn't
like Mike Patton
Igor?
EP.
Didn't
Now-
Igor use a chicken? Igor uses a chicken. So
Well, and we're gonna talk about, on the flip side real fast, instruments that are odd that I really love that come in. Harmonicas, man. Anytime you can bust out that harmonica, that is something else. If you've ever heard the song Los by Rammstein, man, the harmonica on that kills me.
I really one of my favorite uses of an instrument is there's this black metal band. It's oh man, I can't Tolk, that's who it is. T-A umlaut A-K-E. I think that's right. T-A-A-K-E. Yeah, they're from Norway, and one of their songs, which is called, which is translates to mead from whatever Scandinavian language, I guess Norwegian, that they're using. They have a banjo in it, and it's like this black metal, and then it just breaks into this like chicken picking banjo going through, and it's like, what is happening here? This is amazing.
Just to piss the crowd off.
I mean, black metalists do get very angry when they have any other instrumentation going on besides the Travuka vault stuff. So it feels good to know that there's some angry black metal fan out there who heard that song and was like, I don't like it, it's terrible. So all right, let's wrap this thing up. Let's try and wrap this into a good bow here. So we have Blnk Slate, Pardon the Rope, Mr. Unlucky. I know that there's a new track that's going to be coming out around the holiday time, as you mentioned. You have some stuff, well, at least for the conjuncture of all three of these things. But what kind of is I guess till the end of the year plan for Blnk Slate, for Pardon the Rope, for Mr. Unlucky, besides this track that you have that's coming out around? So
I'll let Duncan start, and then I'll finish off us.
So where Blnk Slate's at right now, our priority is rewriting pretty much the 3, by extension of Psycho Idol, 4 songs that we have really solid. In the meantime, we have a lot of other concepts that, I guess, some genty stuff, and then one fun one that I got to kind of write. I showed Dustin a little bit of a Baroque piece. Ooh. But we have stuff like that in the back burner, but it's more rewriting that stuff, getting it solid so we have it to release whenever we want. Not to mention we can, go out. I would feel a lot more comfortable going out and playing because somebody can actually find our music. So we can go out, we can play, because we got pretty much, if we want to play, we have a few venues that are going to take us, a few bands that want us to open, play with them. So that's not a big deal. It's just getting the stuff and having everything set up perfectly. So when we do go play, everything's set up perfect to pretty much amass the most amount of attention we can get.
Right.
So that's where we're at. We're just going to keep pushing that until it's ready. And then once that's ready and once it's all done, we're going to start moving into more of the live stuff and to finish writing these other songs, getting them mixed, mastered, and produced, pushing stuff out there. And then, record label. Well, not record label. Record release or album release. Record label. Yeah. No, I don't want a record label. That's pretty funny.
I know you thought you'd never say those words. I don't think I'd say those words.
Committed.
So, you good then?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So where I'm at, I've got kind of 3 different game plans going on right now. First off, obviously, as I've said, we're trying to get a lot of exposure. So I'm going to do the classic track of doing some of the covers. I hate to admit to it, but there's 3 or 4 songs I would like to truly cover with, my own voice. kind of add my own little spin on it, get that out there to show people, yeah, like, look, I can fucking scream, and look, oh my God, I've got a fucking mic in my hand. Ooh, see that, people? You know, that means I must be able to sing. You know, I don't understand why people, that's one of the things that's a pet peeve of mine. Like, it seems like the minute you put that mic there, that like equals 10,000 views. And if you don't have that mic, you get like nothing. And I'm like, what in the actual hell there? But that aside, so we have that. I'm also, you know, as I said, you know, we have a whole journal and, you know, collection of writings from Rooster's time in the Clink, on top of, you know, I've written some stuff in my own spare time that, you know, Rooster's aware of, as well as, you know, I keep kind of like a personal journal on me in a day that, you know, as I come up with lines, or even people say like really just messed up stuff to me, you know, a lot of times I'll sit there and I'll write that down. Or, you know, if I have really messed up thoughts about society and the world or whatever's going on in that day, you know, I'll often frequently write those down, and those spawn into songs, which is good. So those will be brought to light via, you know, I'm hoping Blnk Slate will pick them up in the, you know, into the spring. We already talked about one called Show. As I said, I know he needs the time and freedom to get, you know, some of Blnk Slate's material out there. So we're going to be on the back burner there, but I'm not worried. And then I also have some, you know, other instrumentalists that I've been, you know, discussing and talking to. So, you know, Duncan will always get the mixing and mastering at the end of the day, you know, but I don't foresee like a lot of
mastering is always easy. It's getting other instruments with it that can be sometimes really difficult.
But I don't really foresee me working, you know, a whole lot outside of, you know, Blnk Slate and Pardon the Rope, unless I really get contracted by somebody. And then the last and third thing, you know, that I'll just share that we were even talking about just today, and I think we're going to green light it. I've been wanting to do a homage cover, but not like keeping it the original. We've been talking about, you know, Sode and the prison song and how it's so relevant today with the industrial prison complex. So we're going to update that to 2022, add some new, you know, stats to that, and still stick to pretty much, I'm going to say probably the same instrumental, just literally changing the words to make it modernized. You know, I see a lot of people doing that, like Flowbots did that with Handlebars. If you guys saw that, that actually, you know, landed pretty well. So I'm going to see if that'll land well with folks. Plus, I've always been a big Sode fan. So that's kind of my, you know, hat off to Darren and, you know, Serge there and Chavo. I really like those guys. So I'd love to see, you know, if they'll enjoy that. Hopefully that'll actually hit their radar, since it's going to be that bizarre.
All right. Well, and if people want to follow you on these journeys, what are your social media handle things that you have? Are you just on Instagramming, or are you on other platforms too?
So I'm Pardon the Rope / Mr. Unlucky is on, you know, YouTube, Instagram, where we got 2 songs out, as I said, Sierra on Spotify, which is Mr. Unlucky, and Alpha Bravo, ALFA, and then Bravo. And then we also have another one that we released with him called Hollow that was really, really good. That's also out there on Spotify and Apple Music. But I'd say I'm most active on my Instagram, but I do put stuff on all socials. The best way to find me, of course, because of, you know, the world is so saturated with everybody, you know, picking names, even if they don't realize the relevance, you have to look me up via Mr. Unlucky Official, because of course there's 10,000 Mr. Unluckies, you know, so it is what it is, you know, but, you know, you got to reclaim it somehow. And that's where we're at. So that's where you'll find our materials. Instagram's the best one to follow me on. You'll find my link tree.
And for us, Blnk Slate, we've got an Instagram. We technically have a Facebook that I barely ever touch. And then we have a little YouTube channel that we just kind of throw things on every now and then. And so we have the Instagram, which is what we're most active on. It's been a little quiet lately just because we've been grinding this so hard. And oh yeah, my buddy Jason back here reminded me we've got a TikTok account. But anyway, so
Jason's the guitarist for Blnk Slate.
Jason's
right?
the guitarist. He's going to be starting to. He's kind of cutting in. He's going to be starting to play guitar for us, and that's kind of the transfer there. But so is our TikTok just same thing as our Instagram? Yeah. All right. So our TikTok is and Instagram would be BL_NK_Slate. And that would be for our Instagram and our TikTok. Right now it's just a bunch of stupid shit because that people like stupid shit. People like
that's
funny
true.
stuff.
Entertain the masses. It's so easy.
Mostly entertainment. There's a little bit of snippets of our music. You can find a little piece of Orphan Cries on there that I put on there. But there's that. And then there's our YouTube, which is just the same thing, just BL_NK Slate. And then you can look up the YouTube. We have our own logo on it, so it'll be pretty easy to be like, oh yeah, that's that there.
This connects. Yeah.
So
yeah, I got to work on that. We have some ideas, but a lot of times I end up at the back of the drawing board because most of them are not safe for society. Pardon the rope. I think before we call it a day here, that's one of the things I did want to address, where the name comes from, because Rooster didn't necessarily get into that while he was in a clink. One of the things that was commonly discussed was, unfortunately people do, off themselves given the conditions in there. And one of the frequent things that was left behind was a note that would say, pardon the rope, like, as in pardon the mess, excuse our mess, and, is that last bit of solace, at least the guard, because, that guy has to see that probably God knows how many times a week. So, that's where, our name really, reflects some of the dichotomy of the songs that are going to be coming. This is going to be heavy, brutal stuff. And we're not afraid to shy from that. We do go into shock rock a little bit.
I guess maybe I should do the same. I should explain a little bit about
what it is. Yeah, I think that's a good wrap for where you got Blnk Slate. Let's hear it.
So Blnk Slate, I could make it hours long at the explanation because it's a big philosophical thing I came to, because long story short, my life sucked. A lot of the times I had a lot of hardships. I'm not going to say I've had it the worst, but I've definitely had my fair share of hardships, and I've been in some pretty interesting places. So in those times, I've came to realizations and just kind of silent observations of the world going on around me, because most of those times I was pretty much alone. And I mean alone as in just completely alone. Like nobody was really very present in my life at the time. But so I came to some interesting observations, and one thing that got me through some of those times ended up happening to be music, because I started music when I was 10. I played the cello till I was 13. I got really good at it, but then I moved somewhere where I had no opportunities with the cello, and that really sucked. And then I ended up just kind of pick up singing, blah, blah, blah. But that kind of like brought me through a lot of weird things. And so I kind of came up with this idea because I want a band. I'm like, all right, I need a band. I want one. I need to make music. I need to talk about some shit. I got some shit to say. And so Blnk Slate is the idea of that when it comes to music, in the way it's metal, but it's very free forming, as that's why we have so many different genre influences across our songs, and you're definitely going to see it. And then there are sort of regular philosophical aspects to it, and that would be kind of, I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to a lot of problems, and this is especially this first album that's going to be coming out is going to be a lot about this. It is one, a lot of people have mental health issues. A lot of people have issues, and a lot of people have issues and they don't even know it, but they're definitely there. We all know those people.
Oh yeah.
So the whole thing is, I think a lot of people have a lot of issues, and even when they do recognize it, they don't fully understand what's going on, because we're not really taught how to do that. We're not taught to understand what our issues are, how to break them down. We're basically taught to make money, pay taxes. So we don't really know how to do
that wheel, you rat.
Exactly. We don't really know how to do those things. We don't even know what those things are, and to even be able to understand what exactly is going on when we're feeling certain things is, beyond what we're taught to do. And a lot of us are just left empty there. So it's kind of, it's a blank slate. It's and especially with this first album, it's going to be very perspective based. It's not just like my perspective, while it's all things I can relate to in some way, shape, or form. It's not just my perspective, it's perspectives I've seen through several things, and that's what especially this album is going to be about. It's perspectives to put you into somebody else's shoes and be like, huh, that's a little different. I never thought of it that way. And it's to start getting your gears kind of working, to start thinking more, like to get people to start thinking more for themselves rather than just not thinking at all, just kind of subconsciously acting.
Yep, that's where a lot of Pardon the Rope and Blank Slate have our fusion is, we talk about social issues in our song, a lot of those rantings and ramblings of Brewster is coming from a mindset of being trapped in this system that we are trapped in. And, as he says, it's just a perfect amalgamation of the two of us. That's where we really found that perfect common ground for our bands.
Are you adequately prepared to be told that you should keep social issues out of music, as if that's ever been the case ever? Because apparently that should be done. I'm told that a lot, that social issues don't belong in music, apparently.
Right. I should just talk about industry push shit, right?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate for whoever thinks that, but that's kind of the whole premise here. So I mean,
Fozzy just took a stance on that. We're a great stadium rock with no political affiliation. Oh, it's like, great for you, bro. Like, maybe some of us have shit to say about how this system sucks.
Yeah, more or less. That's why Blank Slate's called Blank Slate, because it's a blank slate. It's a slab of nothing that things are just gonna come out of, and it's all gonna be very different, very deeply thought out, and it's going to be very it's a blank slate. You don't know what you're going to get yet, and you're going to find out.
And I love that aspect of it, because as I said, we're a cacophony and noise, and what better person to pick up than somebody that is literally the definition of chaos, a blank slate.
Social issues are music.
I love the little chime in Brewster there.
You're just like, I had to say it.
He had to.
I mean, it's almost like art itself is an expression of social. No, there we go. There I go again. My weird thoughts.
Stop expressing yourself. Come on, man. We're artists here. We don't do that.
Well, thank you for taking the time to chat here, gentlemen. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a ride.
Could I get you to do a station ID before this time runs out here?
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, I guess I'll get one from, I guess, each of your respective things, because why not? Like, there's enough time. We could do this. We got 7 minutes. We can hammer this
first, because I'm a caveman. I don't know what this is. I'll figure it out.
So you want me to do like a shout out for CJLO, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. Yeah. CJLO, like whatever you want, who you are, the thing that you are in, and CJLO, that's
all right. Hell yeah. Well, I'll start us off. This is Mr. Unlucky from Pardon the Rope, and we are live here on CJLO radio, and we are loving it.
This is Duncan from Blank Slate. We're glad to be here on this radio show from CJLO, and man, we're having a great time.
Let's go. Rooster, why don't you give us a final shout out too? I'll force you onto that mic.
This is Rooster with Pardon the Rope. We've been kicking it here on CJLO. It's been a fucking blast, man. Thanks, guys.
Love it. There. Good. All right. Now